Uthaug is back for another round of gigantic earthen creatures devastating Norway in the cleverly named Troll 2. It's now available on Netflix. But should you watch? When a dangerous new troll is awakened, Nora, Andreas, and Captain Kris are thrust into their most perilous mission yet. To stop the creature's ruthless rampage, they must enlist new allies and delve into the country's ancient history. But as the clock ticks and the troll's path of destruction grows wider, the team faces impossible odds in their fight to save their homeland from falling into darkness. Admittedly, I wasn't the largest fan of the first installment. It wasn't terrible, but it just didn't have the emotional depth that it could have within the human characters. For this one, there's a tiny bit more focus on the relational side of the characters, but this still heavily relies on the urgent chase and pursuit of this attacking troll, sometimes creating emotional peaks, but never dwelling on them for long. So the premise of this one is that in the aftermath of the first troll awakening and that rampage just through Norway, a new troll has been discovered. And this is shown to us in a way that is eerily similar to the first Transformers movie, like very close in execution. Then the characters, they have to go on this chaotic jaunt through the country in an effort to stop all the destruction. Now at this point, the story takes on some comparable elements of Jurassic Park, and then a bunch of ideas and actions from National Treasure. There's still the Godzilla-like aspect of the first one, with the story this time giving us a bit of a showdown, kind of like Godzilla x Kong. The general tone of the movie, it's lighthearted and a bit goofy, even though there are some more serious moments that are tossed in. The line delivery is cheesy, but somehow it's also a little self-aware, so it doesn't feel as awkward as it probably should. And with the mixture of action and humor, this creates a fun adventure aspect, keeping a mainly laid-back tone despite there being an angry troll on a destructive mission to who knows where. And it's kind of an odd mix too, but it also works with the structure of the storytelling. And I never got the sense that this was attempting to create a narrative that creates lasting or haunting impressions, which might be unfortunate. And because we get a few new characters that are introduced this time, there are fresh opportunities to exploit cringy flirting through looks and lines. I'm not exactly sure why this is even included into the story. While we know the characters for the first film, the newbies, they don't have much, if any, development. So to create avenues that might lead to romance, it just seems clunky and unneeded. And just like within the first movie, the CGI for the trolls that we get to see, it's spectacular. The textures and the shadings make them just come alive, feeling very earthen and natural, exactly as they are described for us within the dialogue. And the plant roots that spring from the cracks in the rock of the troll skin somehow make them feel more real. Like having living foliage coursing through them makes them somehow more alive than them just being able to walk and roar and destroy. But despite having awesome looking visuals, there's very little of the troll for the film. A lot of the time we just spend with the humans as they race around trying to figure out where the troll is going and then how to stop it. And while we don't get a lot of time in many specific locations, there is one area in the third act that's beautiful and it fits perfectly within the plot. There's this cathedral with massive spires and bell towers. I mean, it's monstrously large as a building, and it hides some key plot elements that work to provide a bit of the mysterious adventure that was lacking throughout the majority of the story. Don't get me wrong though. I mean, the chase, it can be fun and exciting, but the journey with our characters having to solve a problem by something other than shooting a gun just makes the overall experience kind of uneventful. The only obstacle our heroes have to overcome is figuring out how to stop the troll, and that's solved rather quickly. I think the movie would have benefited from including some more challenges, kind of like those that were featured in old school adventures. I mean, I don't want rehashing of stories. They're already copying ideas from several films here. But just the inspiration to create something spirited, dazzling, just embracing the lore and then quadrupling down on what characters could experience as they race to stop this mythical destructive force. Frustratingly, there's a story arc that hints at creating some touching depth with both the humans and the troll, but it's never fully explored, only devoting a few lines of dialogue that are supposed to satisfy the plot point. There's this whole story that we don't get, outside of the tease from two characters speaking briefly. And this missing exposition, even a flashback, would deepen not only the connection with the characters, but also make the trolls more than just simply rocky beasts who like to trample homes and eat people. I mean, not that those can't be fun and exciting, but it's all we ever see them do. So they're just one-dimensional additions that become uninteresting and they get tiresome quickly. Now, for as much as I've harped on there being a lack of certain emotional depth, we are given a scene that's meant to evoke tears, or at the very least some shock. But because the climactic scene is predictable, especially thanks to some very obvious looks and then earlier foreshadowing, the sequence loses a lot of its impact just thanks to everything being telegraphed. I mean, I can still appreciate what the moment was going for, but because just like with all of the other emotionally poignant opportunities, this was underdeveloped and then relied on stereotypical tropes in hopes of touching our hearts. Now, I've got one very minor spoiler that doesn't give anything away within the plot. If you remember the old couple who lost their home in the first movie, well, they finally get their renovations done on the rebuilt house. So overall, while Troll 2 does maintain the high-quality CGI and creature creation that we were introduced to in the first movie, it's the pieces that are missing that prevent this from being a memorable must-watch. With emotional and development arcs that are glossed over quickly to a large lack of adventure, the relational aspects that should hold this story together don't receive the backing necessary to invest us in the pursuit. The limited destruction we see, it's fun, but the movie focuses more on characters discussing plans, which then drags down the excitement and urgency. And even though a lot of the dialogue is cringy and full of cheesy humor, the movie knows it and uses it to recapture some of the charm that's evaporated through the narrative shortcomings. While this isn't terrible, it's also not very good. I mean, if you're a fan of the first one, I would say give this one a go. But if you didn't enjoy Troll, there's no need to revisit this universe. And for those who are fans, don't miss the mid-credits scene. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and some violence. I give Troll 2 2.5 out of 5 couches. Okay, are there any mythical creature features that you've seen that are worth checking out? I would love to get your recommendations in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Kris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.